Hello everybody, Logan here with another episode of Triple Terror. Today is our very first episode recapping Spirit Halloween's massive release. Yes, that is right, we are finally getting into Spirit Halloween. I have been waiting ages to talk about Spirit, and I gotta tell you, there is a lot to go through. Now today we're talking about 3 really good animatronics. Almost everything this year is pretty stellar, so I'm really excited to talk about everything this season. First of all, we have Cotton Candy Dan, stellar prop, and then we have Ghostface, a returning licensed character. Not the same as the CCM one or the Jimmy one, but this is his third go round with Spirit. And then we have the Cremator, a very interesting prop, but a really cool concept. Now, just gonna warn you guys at a time, I like all 3 of these. I have pretty positive opinions, but as always, I do like to critique props whenever I see room for improvement, because there is always room for improvement. These are retail grade props, so of course there's going to be little details that I will see that I think, hey, this is cool, but here's how you make it cooler. So, with that out of the way, let's jump right into it, and let's hit the big top with Cotton Candy Dan. Oh boy. Right off the bat, I have to say that Dan is probably my favorite so far of the items we have videos of. I think Dan has the most character to him. I love the script writing that Techie did. The phrases he has are great, and then combining with the voice actor, really well done. This is an incredible animatronic, and just by the audio and again the script writing alone, super well done. This is an incredible character. So Dan, we kind of known about him for a while. Spirit did tease Cotton Candy Dan, and there was a lot of back and forth on what he was. Was he a clown holding cotton candy? Was he a cotton candy cocoon victim? What was he? And I have to say, I am really pleased with the final result. This weird zombified clown stirring a bucket full of cotton candy, and then he lifts the stick to reveal a severed head. That's really cool. So let's talk about Dan's main feature, that gnarly zombified head, because that's what really jumps out to me. So again, Dan is Techie, so of course I expecting nothing but the best. Techie does phenomenal looking clowns. Almost every time, all their clowns look amazing. Dan is no exception here. Dan is this really just demented, gross, rotting clown. He's his skin is just falling off of his skull. It's really well done how they did this. Some people do not like the fact that one of his eyes is covered. I like that. I like the fact that there's strands of skin covering it. There's a lot of imagination behind, if Dan himself is made of cotton candy or whatever. So I'm going to let you guys in a little morbid fact here. Facts with Logan, if you will. When you decompose, your body does actually start to liquefy, which I believe is where Techie was going with Dan, an actual decomposition look. So this is pretty, it's exaggerated in some aspects, but the kind of melty appearance, and that's what happens to your body when you die. So I understand where they were going, and I like it. People also have been kind of complaining about the color block costume, the red, blue, and yellow, I actually like the primary color scheme going on with his costuming. As Toothy once said, there's a lot you can do with a clown, and I like that they kept it simple. Sometimes less is more, and I do like where they went with this. I think it was pretty clever, actually, with the primary colors. The only thing I wish they did, right, because Dan is rotting and he's all disgusting, is I wish they would have stained the costume, right? That is really my only issue, is I wish it was stained and it was gross, because, you look at Dan's face, and even, his hands are kind of gross. They're covered in sugar. His face is covered in the sugar as well. You would kind of expect it to also look gross, have, bits of pink in there and dirt and whatnot. And they kept it pretty clean, which, in my opinion, is playing it fairly safe. But I will credit where credit is due. It's cute. I like the primary colors of this. I think it's well done. I like how the parts with the yellow have blue striping on it. You got the blue accenting on the ruffle, and then on the sleeves he actually has these nice fine blue pinstripes, which I think is really cool. And then we're going to talk about Jim. That is the name that Spirit gave the dead guy. So Jim looks pretty cool. I think he's cool for kind of a zombie-esque character. My only complaint is I feel like Jim needs to look more burnt. He just looks like kind of a zombie character, and how they painted him, to me, doesn't say burn victim. And I'm sure that probably doesn't make a lot of sense to most of you guys. So again, facts with Logan. Cotton candy, to make it, requires a lot of heat. You pour sugar into this machine, and it actually melts down the sugar, and that's how it spins it into the little fine, thready pieces to make your cotton candy. So Jim is in that bucket, and I'm assuming Dan's making his cotton candy in there. Jim should be burnt badly. Jim should be fucked up. More than he already is. Jim's skin should be literally melting off of his skin, or off of his face. It should be muscle tissue. He should be Freddy Krueger looking. It should be bad. He should look like a severe burn victim. And not only that, there should be some blood, because Dan also has a stick wham through the top of his head. I would expect a blood drop going through his nose, because again, you're going, that's impaled through his head, so that's blood's gonna go through the nose, top of his head, not so much the mouth unless it goes all the way through. But, stuff like that, little details like that is what I look for. But, again, it's a retail grade prop. I'm sure they didn't really think that much into it, because that would be really, really gory for, something for Spirit. But, other than that, I think Jim looks cool. I think he's really gross and creepy looking. I also probably would have put a thin layer of cotton candy over him, too. Kind of like what they did with the, what's it called? The Tombstone Ghoul. How we have that layer of cobweb. It's the same material, it's just different colored. They should have done that with Jim. That was a fully missed opportunity there. That would have looked so cooler. So much cooler. Just do a thin layer, so he's kind of wrapped in it. Again, just an idea. Or done crystallized sugar, done kind of an illusion. I don't know how you would have done that. But again, just kind of an idea, because, it does melt when it hits something liquidy. So, I don't know. Just an idea. I do love the lighting in the bucket. You really can't see it in Spirit's video. You're going to have to watch, separate demos. but the actual lighting effect in the bucket, it's so cool. It's like these like blue purple lights, and it makes it look really, really neat. I like how it's done. So, but yeah, overall, Dan is really cool. He is a little pricey at $330, but I can kind of justify that with the amount of movement he has. You know, he's got a moving mouth, he stirs the cotton candy, and then it pops up. It's a good amount of movement for a jump scare prop, and he looks great. There is a downside. If you want Dan, I would not order him online because for whatever reason, Dan in particular has a $50 upcharge for his oversized shipping fee. Everything else is $20. His is $50. So I would keep that in mind. I'm not sure what's up with that this year, Spirit. Kind of why we're being so weird with the animatronics this year, considering that it's just like Mr. Dark's box. But that is something that a lot of us noticed, and people weren't very happy, and I don't blame them. So anyway, that is Cotton Candy Dan. Again, really cool animatronic. I love Dan. I 100,000% will pick this guy up this season. You will see him in my haunt, because this guy is so cool. And I like that he's got a cool gimmick to him too. I like the gimmicky characters that are doing something like making you some cotton candy. I like cotton candy. And it's really not a circus without some. So, let's roll his demo.
Yum, yum, yum! Sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's not. One thing I'll tell you though, it'll do more than rot your teeth out.
Now on to our second segment, which is the 6'2" Deluxe Ghostface. Now, I do want to go ahead and say that there are 2 Ghostface props coming out this year for Spirit Halloween. Both of them are in store. The other one is a static version. However, we have not seen him. So this is the animated one. Now, I really don't 100,000% know who made this. I've been told it was Crazy Create. The factory video was Pan Asian. So we're kind of juggling between companies here. I can see it being either one of them. I'm kind of leaning more towards Pan Asian. You know, just by the sculpt of the hands, it looks more like the static ones they've been doing for Fun World for a few years now. But this is Spirit's newest Ghostface character, and I really have to say that it's not half bad. This one's going for $280, which isn't terrible, and has interchangeable parts. So Spirit's bringing that back with their licensed characters, and pretty happy to see that. You get 2 masks. You get the aged Ghostface mask and a bloody, kind of cleaner one. You get a hunting knife, which is his iconic knife, and then you get a bloody machete. Personally, I like the aged mask the most. I thought it looked really cool in the newest film. It reminded me of the zombie Ghostface mask, which debuted when Scream 4 was coming out back in, I believe, 2011. So, you know, pretty happy to see this. Overall, I'm going to say, I think it's a really decent prop. It has a lot of back and forth on it being good and bad. The robe is not my favorite. The material just looks a little off. I think it would have been better if they just took an actual Fun World robe, and it doesn't look like a Fun World robe. That's what's a little confusing about it. Because Fun World has the actual licensing for Ghostface, so I believe like the Jemmy one, for example, used the Fun World costume and mask. The Crazy Crate one a couple of years ago used a Fun World costume. They did not use a Fun World mask. They had their own sculpt for that. So this one looks like they try to be completely original, and it doesn't fully work for me. The material just looks a little off, and some of the seam lines in particular just look a little weird. I think what I would do if I would get mine is get a Workbench Designs costume. He makes phenomenal replica costumes because it has that glittery sparkle that it had in the movies. So I think that's what I would do. Everything else I think is okay. Now, what sets this one apart from the other Ghostface characters that we've had is he does use the actual voice of Ghostface, which is Roger L. Jackson. So I think this is a massive step up into the right direction. Techie did the same thing with their tabletop version that they did in collaboration with Fun World. So seeing that more companies are really putting forth a lot more effort into Ghostface himself is really nice to see, and I'm glad he has actual phrases instead of just stock scream, you know, like the Panasia one had, like the Crazy Crate one had. So I'm really pleased to see that. The stance is better on this one. It looks like he's in kind of that prowling stance. I'm pretty pleased with it, and he's got a good amount of animation. His head tilts, and then he does this like frenzied stabbing motion. Now, a lot of people are very weary of how quickly he stabs because they think that, oh, it's going to break really quickly. You know, they are a little just nervous about that. I say give it a chance. You know, I think it'll be okay. I say have some faith. I think it'll be okay. I don't know. I think it'll be fine. Another thing I don't like, I was going to say the only thing, but there's a couple things I don't like. I don't love the machete. It just seems a little weird. It's weird. It's very small. It's a very small machete. I don't remember Ghostface using a machete in the films. Though, to be fair, this is more licensed towards Fun World, and Fun World has had Ghostface with a machete in their costumes, but I don't recall him ever using a machete. I think what would have been cooler, since they're really referencing the most recent movie, and I don't know how they would get away with this, or, kind of what that would be like, but it would have been cooler for him to have a shotgun, because that's one of the most iconic scenes in the movie, is when he's going through this bodega, and he's got a shotgun, and he's chasing our two protagonists, and he's shooting at them, and he shoots the store clerk. That's like a really intense scene, and we've never seen Ghostface use a gun like that. That would have been so much cooler, in my opinion, for him to have a shotgun like that. Now, I think they would have to put an orange cap on that, obviously, for safety reasons. Fake guns have to have, stuff like that. But still, would have been really cool to see. The masks on this guy look pretty good. Again, I'm a really big fan of the aged one in particular. I like how that looks. Pretty solid. I don't care for the machete. The hunting knife is cool. People were a little upset that the hunting knife was clean, and I just want to remind people that in the films, and I know it's not licensed by the movies, but it makes sense in this case. In the films, he always wipes his knife clean, with his gloves. It's an iconic thing he does. It's very synonymous with Ghostface, so it's like, that's why his knife is always clean. But the machete just needs to be bigger, because it looked very small, and I wasn't a big fan of that. But that's really it. Again, I think it's really cool. I like that they gave him different parts that you can mix and match. I like that he has Roger's voice, So, he actually sounds like Ghostface. He has 4 phrases, though I will say 2 of them are really, really short. So, that is also kind of a downside, but at least we have a fairly decent looking Ghostface. And I am really curious to see what the static one's going to be like, though I have a feeling it's just going to be the Pan-Asian one. But, as a longtime Ghostface fan, I'm still willing to see that. So, let's run his demo.
You teach a class about slashers, and you still walked into a dark alley. Alone. Strange that you and I have never spoken on the phone. This is long overdue.
Now on to our final segment of Triple Terror. We are talking about the 6-1 Cremator. So the Cremator is another techie item and is the static item of the year. Well, besides Ghostface, this is the original static item of the year. And I don't hate it, but I would like to see this one up close and really kind of play around with it to really get a more solid opinion on it. Mostly just with the appearance. I think the audio is great. I think the audio was amazing. I heard all of his phrases. Chilling Props posted a video, so thank you, Chilling Props, for that. And it definitely gave me a more positive opinion than I already had on this. Again, with Techie and their just amazing script writing this season, the audio is great for such a simple prop. And also the lighting effect was really clever with the fire and ice lights that Jemmy is really known for doing. So that's what makes everyone believe that this might be Sound and Light and Techie, which I'm kind of on that opinion as well. I do generally like the simple phantom characters. I think they are creepier like that, where they're just shrouded in mystery. And that's what this is. But Techie took it a step further, where he's just burning from within. And I think that's really neat how they did that. I think it's really smart. So instead of him just being really basic, they added a cool gimmick that I think honestly works. I really don't see how they could have done anything else and it'd still be this strong of a character. Now, I will say, I don't love the skull. I wish the skull looked burnt, because his whole thing is he's burning and everything. So I wish the skull also looked burnt, because the skull is burning from within as well. I'm okay with his hands not looking burnt, because he's like a weird paranormal character or whatever. But that's probably my biggest critique, is they should have had some singeing on the skull, some black dry brushing, something to make it look like it is burnt. You know, I don't know if anyone else agrees with me on that, but because he is the Cremator, I feel like that would have been a little cooler. Again, the prop itself is really neat, but I really need to see this one in person to really get a further opinion on it. It's $200, which I will say is a little steep for a prop like this. He's just kind of a light and sound prop, but he's a nice one, so I don't know if I'll buy him yet. Again, I need to see this to really get a further opinion and to say, yeah, I really like it, or no, not really my thing. But, how Spirit presented it was really well. I like how they did the whole, tortured thing behind him with the fire and brimstone type of deal. This would look great in an Underworld theme. Like at the very front, before you're going down the gates of hell. Really smart. I think that's how this should be displayed. Or like in a cemetery or whatever. But again, I really struggle to have a solid opinion on the Cremator. And I think some of it is the name Cremator. When that was teased, I had an entirely different vision. And this is nothing like what I thought it was. So it's kind of catching me so far off guard. And it's not a bad thing, obviously. It's just, it's one of those things where you're like, huh. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. So, I don't know. The audio is great. I love the audio. Obviously, Techie has been doing some of the best audio of the season, without a doubt. I think it looks cool. It's just, I want to see it in person before I can really give a more in-depth opinion on this prop. I mean, he's going to be in store, so I'll see him eventually. But I would like to really see this guy up close and in person. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I have like so many conflicting thoughts about him. It's like I don't fully know how to feel about it yet. You know, it's one of those props. You know, I mean, chilling props definitely helped my opinions. I love the lighting effect. I think it looks really nice. I think the audio is really great. It's just, I personally have to see this in person before I can be like, yeah, I love this thing so much, or So, yeah, that has been the first Triple Terror for Spirit Halloween. We just got another prop added to the picker wheel today, which was Shirley Stab. So, stay tuned for our next episode of Triple Terror. We got a lot of props and counting to go through. So, let's start this video. This has been Logan Kaler, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Triple Terror. Bye, guys.
Cross the threshold where the dead walk free. Enter, and in the darkness you will find